Our next fireside is one that many of us in this room will recognize, especially if you have lived abroad, studied abroad, or spent just some time outside of Kenya, which is the journey from exposure to actually impact, right? So I've gone home, I've gotten all this experience, I've met all these new people. How can I now have an impact back home, right? And it's the story of leaving, learning, returning, and then choosing to build something meaningful at home. So to take us through this conversation, I'd love to welcome our moderator, Lynne Aswani, and our guest, Nadia Ahmed, Director of Africa Communications at CorpsAfrica. Round of applause for them as they come up on stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. I know you're a bit hungry, but we're going to make this quicker, right? And interesting. Right. So this is Nadia Ahmed. She is the Director of Africa Communications at CorpsAfrica, but I'll let you introduce yourself. All right.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Can I just first say, it's been such a long time I've sat on a panel to talk, so my nerves are all over the place. I still consider this a panel, so.
All right.
Okay. So my name is actually Nadia Ahmed Abdalla, but I love calling myself Nadia Abdalla. I feel like it has more power than the Ahmed. I am the Director for Africa Communications at CorpsAfrica. So CorpsAfrica is an international NGO based in DC, and we deal with young people. So it's basically a Peace Corps version, but for Africans. So we work with youth, it's about volunteerism, training, empowerment, and all that stuff. But before that, my journey has been interesting. I worked with IFAD, Somalia, for 1 year as a consultant in Mogadishu. Before that, I was in government for about 11 months, 2 years and 11 months. I was the Chief Administrative Secretary in Uhuru Kenyatta's government, which is the former government. To those who don't understand what that position was, it was basically just deputizing the cabinet secretary. So I was in charge of Ministry of ICT, Innovation and Youth Affairs. The reason as to why that is very important for me to say I held that position is because I was 29 when I got appointed. I was the youngest, and you guys can clap for me.
Yes, sure.
You're all looking at me like, It's a big deal because I originally come from Mombasa, born and raised in Mombasa. So I'm a Swahili girl who's defied the odds and decided to take my own path. Now, before government, I lived in Germany, in Berlin. So I'm also a trained diplomat at an institute called Institute of Cultural Diplomacy in Berlin, which was a twinning program between the American government and the German government. And then before that, I lived in Malaysia for about 6 years. I went to Malaysia to finish my A-levels. Then I did my bachelor's in mass communication and public relations with a minor in journalism. And then I worked in a PR agency because at that time I thought I wanted to be in agency. And yeah, so that's it. I left Kenya when when I just turned 18. And I got back to Kenya when I was 28. So yeah.
That's quite interesting. Right, so I'm curious to know, when you first went to Malaysia, what was the feeling once you landed in Malaysia and had the first breath of air in Malaysia as an 18-year-old?
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
I was so happy. My freedom. And let me explain. I'm a Swahili. I'm a Muslim. I come from a minority, and we are very strict. So I was so happy to live by myself. I lived in Kuala Lumpur, so one of the most vibrant cities. So I was just happy. I was on that plane, and it wasn't my first time being on the plane, but it was the first time alone. So I felt the freedom, and somehow my parents thought it was okay to give me 2 months of my pocket money at a go. So when I got there, I finished it all. And I was broke after 2 weeks.
What did you tell them after that?
I had to cry to my late mom. I was like, Mommy, I didn't know how to use the money. I'm excited. I'm here. My late mom always backed me up. So she sent, you know how mothers always have like a stash somewhere.
Yeah.
So she sent me some money. God bless her soul.
Interesting. What do you miss the most about Malaysia and Germany?
So this is what I'll say. Malaysia grew me because I moved when I was 18. So it grew me from that young girl who was very protected, always felt like the black sheep of the family, to becoming very responsible, becoming very articulate, and becoming bold. What I miss about Malaysia is how I was so integrated into it. I was exposed to so much, the diaspora, the expatriates, but the school as well, because I went to a school that was a twinning program between the Malaysian government and University of West England.
Okay.
And so we had professors who also came from on that side to come and also train us. So I was exposed to that. And while I was in Malaysia as well, because I was very proactive, I had a chance to go to Amsterdam. And I lived in Amsterdam for 2 months. I was a journalist, type of journalist, just to write. What I miss about Germany is it grew me to be a bold diplomat. Because I was exposed to, so we were trained a lot with the EU, there were some former prime ministers who also trained us. So the way the way it's structured, they're very disciplined, they're very productive, there's no shortcut. So what I miss about it is everyone is on time, everyone is accountable, and people are not scared to say what's on their mind. Yeah, so I miss that as well as compared to, now back home it's different.
It's a bit different.
Yeah.
All right. But when you're there, because I've lived abroad, sometimes there are those things you crave, like while you're away. So what are those things you craved while you were there?
I'm such a free spirit. I did crave my family because I'm so big on family. I don't have a family of my own, but my friends are my family and family. I crave that. I crave the Ubuntu-ness that we have as Africans, because I didn't know my neighbors, especially in Germany. I didn't know my neighbors up until towards the end. But I just also craved this thing, which right now I think about it, it's crazy. I craved to belong and come and change. You know how we always have this thing, when you come home, you'll change, and then you come back, and reality hits you.
All right. So what would you say from your 19-year-old self, looking back when you traveled out of the country and seeing the growth that you've had over the years, what would you advise maybe somebody who's young, who's going to pursue global education, or a parent who wants to take their kid abroad? What would you tell them?
I would tell them to be very open-minded, number one, but number two, to be strategic. Everything that I did, even if I came from a small community, even if I came, it was very controlled, I was very strategic with everything, with my friendships, with my social circle, with everything. So, and what that did, it opened up a lot of doors for me in terms of my jobs, in terms of even my exposure. A funny story, I was on Tinder in Malaysia, and I actually met, let me tell you, guys, I'm going somewhere. On Tinder, I went on clicked, swiped, we were good. And I got to this date, and I actually met, it was a CEO of one of the biggest textile companies in Malaysia. And at that time, I was trying to transition into being a fashion PR journalist. And that date, he wasn't my type, he was short. I'm not saying short people have issues, I'm also short. But what came out of it was, after that, I actually got an attachment. He actually liked my personality, really my personality, and gave me a couple of gigs. So I was intentional. Even when I was dating, I was still intentional. I mean, who knew Tinder could actually give me my job?
Serious girl.
Yeah.
All right. So piggybacking on that, we're seeing that you came from agency to public policy. How was that transition in terms of how it influenced even your leadership approach?
So it influenced me in very many ways. Number one, so I worked for an agency called Fleshman Hillard. It is an American agency, but based in Malaysia. Okay. And it's crazy. The vision was to be fashion PR, right? And my job was actually, I was in charge of Volkswagen, Volvo, and British American Systems. So it was completely different from what I was doing. But what an agency does to you, it gives you discipline. You have to be on time, you have to be articulate. I remember my boss, there was once I had already taken the train, and I was almost home. My boss, and her name is Dara, until today I remember her, she told me, please take that train back. and come and complete. That time there was a crisis with Volkswagen and emissions. And she said, come back and finish this report properly. There are some things that you left out. And I had to do it. So I cried at that time.
Yeah.
But when I went into government and public policy, I realized that I wasn't taking things for granted. I was very articulate, and I had a unique sense of, I had an ick. I didn't, when I joined government, I was 29, you know, thrown into the big fish. Everyone expected me to fail, and the perception was this young girl, she's 29, you know, she's beautiful, you know, alhamdulillah, beautiful to some extent. And the perception was, oh, this girl has like someone who brought her there, you know. But then when I decided to do things according to how I will do them based on my experiences, it kind of changed people's mentality. And they started, I used to hear sometimes people, you know, speaking behind my back like, oh, who trained her? You know, why is she like this? How is she bold? But it was because of that. Agency breaks you. You know, it is not a good thing. It breaks you, but from that being broken, I became this powers that I am today. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I understand that because I've worked in ad tech agency and I come from a diplomacy background. So I know the transition is quite something.
Very hard.
But now we're seeing that a lot of the East African countries are moving towards election season. And we're seeing a lot of young people trying to enter leadership, trying to enter policy tables. So what would you advise these young people as they try to get into these spaces, and how can they make their voices seen and heard?
Don't follow the blueprint that was there. That's what I'll tell them, because I didn't follow it. Also, you know, leaders, politicians right now have this thing of, oh, you know, when I was a youth, you know how I tarmacked from Rift Valley all the way to Diani, you know this, you know that, you know, they bring us through this story, but it's different. Right now, young leaders are more vibrant, are greater storytellers, and they tell stories not from a place of struggle. I think that's my advice. Like, let us break away from that. I do understand and I do acknowledge that everyone has a certain struggle, but we are charting the way forward. We are looking for innovative ways to do things. There is a leadership app, so even AI agents right now are backing up leadership. We have I don't know which country that was, they have a Minister of Foreign Affairs who's an AI.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I would tell young leaders to chart their own path, take a bit of that intergenerational experience, you know, and try to see how you can integrate that into yourself. But believe in that story that you have and be bold when you're speaking about it. Don't expect someone to come and give you a ticket or to come and tell you, I'll hold your hand all the way. Sometimes you just have to stand up and be the black sheep and just be okay with people laughing at you, but you know you said something that somebody is going to pick up out there. Yeah.
Okay, that's quite interesting. And now for the older generation, what would you want to tell them so that they can be able to mentor the young people coming on board and hold their hands, open their minds to the ideas and the new structures of doing things?
I would tell them to, man, take it easy. Like, we acknowledge and we see that they had to be a bit of struggle to get, whether it's our independence, to get to where we're at. But time is moving. And we are having a huge youth bulge that doesn't need people to constantly look at us in a microscopic lens. But you need to look at us in a way that we are of value. There's some value proposition in every young person. There's something that they can bring that you can't bring then. And then I need to also tell them that it's okay to hold a young person's hand and not feel like you're going to wither in the desert. Like, everyone at some point has to sit down, drink some coffee, and let someone else go. So if we understand that we are not competing, but we are complementing with each other, you find that there will be that sense of trust from young people, and there will be some sense of calmness in the older generation. But the older generation need to really also acknowledge and appreciate, because the narrative is, oh, young people, they just want easy things. We know we've put that for them. So they want this thing of, oh, yeah, thank you. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that. But it's like, can we have an ecosystem that is enabling and complementing rather than just detrimental and breaking young people and making them feel bad about some of the situations and circumstances they never chose to be in? Yeah.
Okay, great. So as we round up, I'll put you on the spot because we have a lawyer from the Sauti Soul group here.
Damn.
Who will
Okay.
be speaking in the afternoon. And Sauti Soul
Yeah.
is one of our greatest exports in terms of the creative economy.
Yeah.
And we would call them the youth. That's when they started growing in
They
in their
were.
music. Yeah, and now
Yeah.
they're transitioning a bit to the older generation.
Yeah.
So we'll put you on the spot and ask, what is your favorite Sauti Soul song?
Okay. Me- Woo, I'm biased, but I'm very.
We don't judge.
Uh, oh my God, I'm actually blank. Let me tell you, I listen to Kenyan music. Let me not lie. Is it Susanna?
Susanna?
Yes, Susanna.
Are you gonna go swing by with Susanna?
Susanna.
Susanna?
Susanna is, but I have to say this. Like, I love Sauti Sol, but I love Bien. So like you put me on the spot and I'm like, oh my God.
Okay.
But Susanna
is a
is
fave.
yeah, it's a favorite song. And you know, I just want to say this. You know, the creative industry, a lot of people when you look at public policy and governance, people think just, you know, data protection and licensing and, you know, ministries and stuff. But we need to start embracing the creative economy.
I agree.
We need to embrace the creative economy. We need to embrace young diplomats as well.
Yeah.
And then we need to, I hope in the future this is going to happen, but we need to also embrace the entrepreneurial ecosystem. You know, we always put it under like medium, small enterprises. But if you ask me, and you know, I might look fancy and all, but I sell deras, guys. You know, like you have to do side hustles, huh?
Yeah.
And there's something about the entrepreneurial ecosystem that needs to stand alone together with the creative economy, because those are the biggest drivers of economies in Africa.
True.
And if we don't start absorbing them into our policies, into our systems, we are going to lose a really big generation of young people and young women who are actually the backbone of this continent.
I agree.
Yeah.
Because a couple of weeks ago, there was an article that spoke about how the creative economy is such a big space and the African market is not tapping into the gaming part of the creative economy. And it's a multi-billion-dollar business, but you'll find your parents telling you, you're playing too much video games. But that could be a career path which could tie down and create employment in the long run. So it's interesting that you mentioned that.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I'm a good example. My parents wanted me to do international business and law. So, you know, I needed that ticket out of the country.
Yes.
So I said, okay, I'll do it. I went into, and the first semester I got E's in everything. I failed. I intentionally failed because I'm like, you guys wanted me to do it, and I've done it. But then after that, I was like, no, I need to do something that is me. And so when when the announcement came from the president, let me tell you, my whole family was like, oh, we knew that she was going to do this. We knew it. In my head, I'm like, we need to let young people progress, but that also doesn't mean we do not need guidance.
True.
I think, let me just say that.
Yeah.
Because like for me, I have a lot of mentors who've held my hand, both directly and indirect mentors. And those are the ones who've actually made me become the person that I am. And within all that, I also had to go for therapy. I think it's important for me to say this because as I was explaining, my life has had a lot of transitions.
Yeah.
And every transition drowns you or confuses you, and especially for women. So at some point I lost my spark, especially after leaving government. You know, you're young, then you get out of government, everyone's like, oh, I just want to see what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I really went into a dark place. And because I was like, I left Germany. And I only left Germany because my late mom got diagnosed with cervical cancer. So it wasn't a choice, a willing choice for me to come back to Kenya. It was due to circumstances.
Yeah.
And when I moved, that's when now other things open. So sometimes it's never a full circle. Sometimes things happen, and sometimes you find yourself in places because of issues and situations. But my key takeaway would be learn how to swim through it all and allow yourself to just fall and immerse and then come back up stronger.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you so
welcome.
much, Nadia. A round of applause for Nadia.